I'm very excited today to be able to talk with Stephanie Ciccarelli. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, how are you doing today, Bill?
Good, fine, thanks. You're co-founder and chief marketing officer, if I'm correct, of Voices.com, which is one of the, if not maybe the biggest, what is commonly referred to as pay-to-play site for voiceover talent. And you guys really, well, first of all, congratulations on the incredible success of Voices.com.
Well, thank you very much.
I think last I heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard you have something like 25,000 members of voiceover talent who are actively involved.
Well, there are a lot of voiceover
Yeah,
talent on
well,
the website, that's for sure. Some
hard,
days I lose count. I know we have statistics on it, but there are over 25,000 voice actors on the website, yes.
that's amazing, which really speaks to the impact that you're having within the industry. Now, talk to me about, now you and your husband David actually founded and started, what, back in 2003?
Yeah, basically, 2003 is when I think the wheels started turning. It wasn't until 2004, in February of that month, that we actually launched a marketplace style website for voice actors. Kind of how we got started. Maybe I should tell that
I
story.
would love to hear, I'm dying to know, yeah.
Okay. Well, before I had met David, his background was in audio engineering, and he had his own recording studio here in London, Ontario. And anyway, he went to this wonderful school. I just spoke at there last week, and I speak there every year. It's called OIART, the Ontario Institute of Audio Recording Technology. And that's just here in my hometown of London, Ontario. So anyway, he went to that school, and he set up shop here in London. He's originally from Thunder Bay, which is 15 to 18-hour drive from here.
Oh my.
He came to the school because it's absolutely the best in the country, if not the continent for that matter, or the world. So at any rate,
Nice plug.
I
Yeah.
believe it to be true, and I think that all their students, they're placed almost immediately coming out of that school, and they need more students coming out of that school than they can supply. So a lot of demand for audio engineering. Anyway, so he had a studio here, and when I started going into university, I had a whole background in choral music and choir. I went through choir schools. I was in choirs locally that would tour and compete in Europe and that sort of thing. So my voice has always been kind of my instrument, and I went to university for it too. And I would sing at weddings and all kinds of different events. But anyway, I realized that instead of demoing what I could do for people in person all the time, maybe I should actually record something so I could too have a sample of my voice to share with people. Because what I'd do is I'd spend like 20 minutes after a church service singing for people because they want me to sing at their wedding and they'd want to hear a number of the different
Right.
pieces. So I'm sure you can relate to how it's a lot easier to just say, oh, go listen to me here, or here's a CD or something.
Right.
So anyway, I needed one of those things. I didn't really know where to go. Being a first-year music student, of course, there were a lot of different avenues that I could go down to kind of record myself and be heard. But one day, there was this article in the newspaper, and my mom cut it out. It featured this handsome young man who had opened a recording studio in downtown London, and she cut it out, and she left it on my bed. So when I came home that day, I found this piece of paper with this gentleman who had opened a studio, and he's working with local musicians and all this. And I thought, I'm gonna email him. I was too afraid to call him; he was too cute. So I emailed him, and this is like 2002. So I emailed him because I was nervous, and I asked for a tour of his studio. And so anyway. Long story short, we had the tour. Within a few months, we started to date, and we did do the demo together. That was really good. I think when you meet someone and you know that you have everything in common foundationally, it's a lot easier to pursue a relationship and even to do business with them, frankly.
Sure.
So just because we related to each other so much. And anyway, within a year of having met, we got married.
Oh,
And so now
wow.
we have 4 children, and basically
Congratulations.
in the studio environment, and he was recording bands by at nighttime, and we'd do some of our own work in the day, and people would say, oh well, can you guys do voices for telephones, can you do a voice for this radio commercial? And so that's how we kind of got into voiceover. It was kind of just people asking us, do you have someone at your studio who can do this? And of course he was like, well, I have this voice major here, I suppose we could use her instrument to work on that. And of course I had thought that was a good idea too, and it was really interesting because I always wanted to use my voice. I just never knew how that would come to pass because I was
Right.
always. So anyway, once we had kind of done a little bit of that, we started to get emails from voice talent in the industry who would say, can I be on your website? Because we were ranking very well in Google. David's
Mhm.
always been a great student of just anything he can get his hands on to help our business grow. And so at one point it was search engine optimization that he was really fascinated with. So he was learning all about that, and it helped us build up this presence and attract our own clients. But over time, we found that not only was there a demand for us to help other people who wanted to get work and be on our website, but as we had more and more children, it got louder and louder in our house. It just wasn't practical anymore.
I understand. Yeah.
In that room, and then we didn't have an isolation booth or anything like that. So it just came to a point where we realized we weren't called to do this anymore. We were supposed to help other people get work and to help them build their careers. So once we made that realization, we sold off any of the recording equipment that we had at the time, including this amazing Korg, this nice beautiful electric piano he had from his. We sold his drum kit. We sold all these different things that could help us reinvest those funds into building up what is now Voices.com.
You probably had to pry his fingers off of some of those musical instruments, I'm guessing.
Oh, yes. I think it was a very sad day when the drums left, but a young boy was a recipient of those, and his dad was just so happy to be able to give him something to.
And from there, Voices.com was born. Now, I mean, you have been a part of a revolution in the industry. And, I mean, to put it in context, I mean, certainly in business in general, technology obviously has played a major role in the way business is done and conducted, the way people connect with, to buy goods and services, and business to business as well as customer to business. And you guys have really helped to create and set the new template for how clients connect with voice talent. And I know it's, for some people it's been, yay, this is awesome. Other people say, oh no, the industry's changing. It's different from the way we used to know it. Where do you see all of this going from here?
I think it's only going to become, in certain ways, more digital, as in, there's a lot more of this kind of interaction, like you and I today here on Skype having an interview talking about the voiceover industry is kind of fun. But I think with other services like Source Connect and all these different tools that have come to play, like even the mobile apps that we have, I guess I can say this because we're about to launch, but we have an Android app coming out very soon.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, imminently, in fact. So at any rate, like we have our Apple iOS devices covered, but now all the other people who have been really vocal but wanting the Android app, it is coming. So don't worry, it'll be here before the end of the month.
A lot of people ask me, and I coach a lot of talent as well as, do a lot of recording myself, and people are always saying, well, what about Voices.com or pay sites? And one of the things I always tell them is that I think what you guys do, and I want a chance to hear, your thought and your take on all of this. I think more than anything else, you provide opportunities. Because when voice talent are, what's everybody looking for? They're looking for chances, opportunities just to connect. Nobody expects to win every audition, but what everybody wants is just an opportunity, to be heard. And as a matter of fact, I will say, and here's my testimonial for Voices.com, one of my best clients that I still have today, I got from Voices.com probably 4 or 5 years ago, is national radio and TV. And the great thing is they call me back every year. It's like a 1-hour session, make a few $1,000s and do a couple more spots. And, those opportunities, turn into something. And I mean, would you agree that that's maybe the biggest thing that you provide for voice talent?
I think so. Aside from a platform to promote yourself and to be heard, and all those opportunities, as you said, to even just audition for something that would have been behind the gatekeeper before, so to speak. You'd have to have an agent, or you'd have to have been maybe handpicked for something. But now, the opportunity is it's global. Really, you could be working for people in Thailand. You could be doing voiceovers for someone in Australia. But I think, predominantly what we do offer is the opportunity for people to succeed and to kind of just reach their full potential, and to do so from the comfort of their own home, in their own home recording studios. So we break down barriers. I think that's what we do at Voices.com.
I'm glad you mentioned the global thing, because oftentimes when I'm talking or consulting with somebody, one of the first things they'll say is, there just aren't many opportunities here where I live. And it's like, well, where you live is not necessarily where it's it doesn't matter where you're located. It is, it's a global marketplace. And again, you guys helped to create that platform. Now, for those who are either maybe they're part of Voices.com or thinking about it, how can they best utilize Voices.com? Are there some kind of best practices that have been kind of tried and proven along the way that people should know or could know that might help them in terms of their relationship with Voices.com?
Oh, certainly. I think one of the keys to using our website effectively is to completely fill out your profile, because the profile is what attracts people to you. It's also what our system matches up with the job postings. So if you have your profile completed in all the different languages you can speak, and maybe all the different applications of your voice that you're able to do, or maybe you like audiobooks or whatever it is, you need to make sure that that information is there because it matches up with our system as well. And voice match is a huge indicator of kind of just how technically matched you are to something. Of course, it's not necessarily an artistic, it doesn't have that insight into it. It's not exactly all the, it will never know the depths of the human heart. It will never know if this is meant for you or if it matches exactly your voice. But what it does do is it pre-qualifies all of those opportunities for you so that you know which ones you should be auditioning for first. Sometimes you'll get like a 95% voice match, or maybe even 100, depending on where it is that you fall and what that job is. So we always say that if your profile is completed to the best of your ability, and this includes tagging your demos and doing all kinds of different things, that you stand a much better chance of getting those opportunities and having that higher voice match. I think something else to do when you're using Voices.com is to really try to use it as a relational tool with the client. So to personalize your proposals, for instance, to make it look like you actually care about doing the job for this person, and not just sending some random note that you send each and every time that doesn't really mean anything to that person. That's why it kind of might appear like it's random or irrelevant. So to be personal, to fill out your profile, to kind of keep your eye on what your voice match is for a job, and just to let that help you to prioritize your time, because your time is really important. There could be 25 to 30 auditions sent your way on a given day, maybe depending on how broad your abilities are, there could be more, but you need to really focus on the ones that are best for you. And to use Voices.com most effectively, you need to be thinking like an agent. So that's something to think about. Like, if my agent were trying to help me get this job, would they actually send me for this? Do I match everything to the point where I'm confident that I could book it, not just, oh, that looks interesting, I think I want to try out this character voice I've been working on. Like, you have to say, do I actually sound that way? Is my voice in that range? Is this what they're looking for? The more objective you are and the more you're thinking like an agent, also the better you will be able to audition for those clients. When I'm using a reporter service, I help a reporter out sometimes to pitch the media about what we do, even because we have to get coverage as well for ourselves. And when I'm going through opportunities, I found that all these things that we've been telling you guys for so long, it's true, because the more, I guess, defined a pitch is, or in this case a casting call is, then the more well, am I a good fit for this, am I not? And if they're asking for something that is just outside of what you can do or doesn't hit it right on the head, then it might be time to step back from that audition. Because if you audition for it and you aren't really the right voice for the job, or you can't actually record on that day, but maybe I can negotiate their deadline, is like, no, you meet whatever it is that they need. Because if you can't, and if you disappoint those people in any way, whether it's because they think they're going to hear something in particular, or it's because they think you have ISDN, but maybe whatever it is, if you can't meet every single requirement that they have confidently, then pass. Because if you audition for it and you can't make those, and they listen to your demo or what have you, then they're going to remember your name, and unfortunately they will pass on you potentially for other work that they may
not the way you want to be remembered.
Yeah, they're going to say that guy doesn't really follow instructions, or he doesn't, she didn't read what my job posting detailed, because if she had, she wouldn't have sent this in. So it's indicative of professionalism if you actually are really detail oriented and you only audition for the jobs that that you can book, not just the things that you hope you can book.
Now, Stephanie, what about demos? Most people, when they start off, they get their commercial demo, which is kind of a representation of all the different maybe styles that they're capable of. When posting or putting demos on Voices.com, is something like that adequate, or is it best to use a strategy where you're doing more niches, such as maybe automotive or sports or hard sell? What have you found that your clients get the best response from?
Well, I think the more you can break demos down, like obviously, like if you can have as many as you can for particular niches, as you say, then the search engine's your friend. Like, you're
Oh,
going to
okay,
be found
okay,
definitely. Like, even if someone is searching for, oh, I don't know, whatever the product is, or kind of, e-learning for automotive or something like that,
right.
let's say, and they're in Google and they're just searching for that. If you have a demo that pertains or relates to those keywords and it shows up in the listings in Google, then they're going to go directly to your demo. Like, surely they can look on voices.com and use our search engine as well. But if they're starting out from, the first step, just getting onto Google or wherever they're searching from, then the more demos you have, and the more specifically you name them, like this belongs in this category, or this is for that, like this is the voice of this toy in particular that I voiced. Like, if
Right.
you're able to say, drop some names, or if you're able to talk about certain clients you've worked for or different products you've actually voiced. Like, I know just for me, and maybe it's just because I'm an industry geek, but I will look for who is the voice of X product.
Right.
Or I'll be in the toy store and I'll be like, oh, and I press a button on this atlas and it talks to me and I'm like, who is that? And so then I start to look for it, and maybe it's just me, but there are other people out there who are in the position to create, these commercials or video productions, and they want to find the voice of somebody that they heard on whatever it was, and they just don't know who that person is because voiceover is faceless.
Right.
So, like, it's not like I can say, oh, look, there's so-and-so who did this voiceover. That you can't. You have to either know their voice, and if someone is extremely versatile, like a Pat Fraley or like a, Rob Paulson or someone like that, you're not going to necessarily recognize their voice each and every time because they're a chameleon. You can't tell what they're doing. But I think that the more you can drop names and write down roles you've actually performed, like similar to how actors on IMDb will say, I was in this production, this was my role, like, and a little bit about what that was, then I think people find that very interesting. Now, if you're going down that route and it's actual work you've done, you should be asking for permission from the client in order to have that as promotional material, is the last thing you want to do is kind of infringe on a copyright.
So from a search engine standpoint, optimization standpoint, the more narrowly defined your demos are, whether it be on Voices.com or anyplace else, the more hits or more likely you are to be found, which might not be exactly the best strategy when marketing directly to an agent, for instance. So just to clarify for those listening, maybe you take your commercial demo and begin to slice it and dice it and recreate some niche type demos. Now let's talk about for a moment areas maybe that people might find the most success on with Voices.com. I know you do. I mean, you can find all kinds of work on Voices.com. Have you found that maybe there are one or two or three niches or areas that tend to rise to the top in terms of demand for voice talent?
Yeah, I think anything to do with narrating for businesses. Like, there's a lot of corporate work that comes through our website, lots of it. In fact, it comprises of the largest chunk of work that comes in our way. It's mainly to do with business, like industrial narrations and that sort of thing, where you're going to have a company who needs a video narrated or what have you. Telephony work is very popular as well. I know that we have an infographic, which I can maybe provide you a link with. And if you go on our website, voices.com, under our resources, there are infographics there, and you can kind of see the breakdown of the kinds of work that comes to the site, and it's by, it's percentages of this much is this, and so much work is in this category, and this is how, the top 5 languages or what have you that jobs are posted in. So you definitely can find that information.
I found that about 70% of my work is business related, and I don't know if that's indicative of the industry at large, but it's interesting for you to say that. And I think with how cheap it is getting to produce media, I think even you're finding even the smaller and smaller businesses are beginning to create materials that require marketing materials that require a voice. So
Yeah, well,
great for folks like us.
Exactly. Well, there are more avenues for voice now than ever before.
Yeah.
Like, I know that the industry has changed and there's a lower barrier to entry and the equipment's not as expensive. And then with a voice, thanks to American Idol, thinks they can use it in certain ways. But I mean, everyone knows that it's always the cream that rises to the top. It takes training and education, passion. Like we always say for voice actors, you have to be three different things. You have to be technologically savvy, you have to be artistically talented, obviously, and then you have to be a good business person.
Yeah.
So you need those three elements in order to succeed in today's industry.
Amen to that. And I'm finding that there's a lot more artistry than there is business savvy, which is kind of what I feel kind of my calling is, to help bridge that gap for people. So again, Voices.com, what a great tool for people who are looking for those opportunities, because again, you've created a huge marketplace to bring people who are looking for voices together with those who have voices and want to use them, you know, in a productive manner. So again, Stephanie Ciccarelli, co-founder of Voices.com, congratulations to you and your husband David on the great work that you guys have done. I wish you much more success. And it's exciting to talk to somebody who's really on the leading edge of what's happening, you know, from a business and marketing perspective, because the market is evolving continually. It's a moving target, and today's voice industry is not what it was 15, 20 years ago, or even 10, maybe not even what it was last year. And which for me makes it fun and exciting, but to see people like you who are really on the cutting edge of that and creating opportunities, I just think it's awesome. So again, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. And
Well, thank you.
hopefully we'll bump into each other very soon.
I hope so too. It's been a pleasure, Bill.